John, with the first pick in the all-decade draft from 2000 to 2009, your pick is...
So we're going to spend time on later players. Let's just get the easy ones out of the way first. There's only two players that are that can be in consideration for the first pick in a draft like this. I won't say who the other one is because I would guess that who's going second, Jeremy?
Jeremy's going second.
Yeah, Jeremy's going to pick this player. But I will go with the guy. He won a couple of MVPs. He started the decade out, finished fifth in MVP voting in the 99-2000 season, the year after he obviously led the Spurs to a championship. His MVP finishes there on in were 2, 1, 1, 2, 4, 8. Low year for him. 4, 7. And then the final year we're considering 11 is when he finally started to dip a little bit. It's probably a controversial choice, but I'm going with Timmy.
Top 10 in points scored for the decade, number 1 in blocks, total blocks for the decade, and number 2 in total rebounds for the decade. So good call, John.
I don't know if it's a good call.
So Jeremy, okay, I will wait until Jeremy goes.
Yeah, let's send
you thought that was the correct pick.
I'll tell you this: I was fully expecting you to go in a different direction, and I was going to go with Tim Duncan.
Okay.
So I think that's totally a good call. I feel like, again, if we're talking about the decades of the 2000s, the only other of this top 2 has to be Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
I figured.
There's no other answer.
5-time NBA champion, all pretty much in that range. It actually bookends. It's like, 2000, 2010.
Well, I will say, and this was clarified on the last draft, his 5th championship counts for next decade. So it's a 4-time champion, but to your point, correct.
It was part of that season.
I'm just saying,
he won an NBA Finals MVP in one of those years.
On January 1st, on December 31st, 2009, he was a 4-time NBA champion. Is true. What I'm saying.
That's true. Yeah. No. I mean, I have to go Kobe, and it was either going to be Timmy or Kobe. Yeah. So I'm happy with Kobe.
Number 1 in total points scored, the only player to have 20,000 points in the decade, Kobe Bryant.
And, well, no, that was before his time.
What?
It was before the 2000s, but I was going to say 1995 4th team parade All-American, which has very important.
It's worth throwing
for
in.
those of you keeping track at home.
It's worth throwing.
There you go. Also, changed numbers mid-decade for a reason. For a reason, exactly.
For reasons.
Not a great reason.
Not a good one, but a reason. Yes, I think those would have been. So here's where it's funny. If I had gotten the first or second pick, I was debating shocking you guys with the guy I'm going to end up with.
Oh, wow.
Because number 1 in the decade is Dirk Nowitzki in win shares. So I was thinking if I wanted to go full analytics here and say like the actual guy that provided the most value to his team, that like Steve Nash leaves and then he still is able to have a perennial 55 win team is Dirk. I still probably would have had to go Kobe or Tim Duncan anyway, but like my thoughts on like, especially when you add in playoff success, you have to go one of the other two. But Dirk, obviously his championship is in the 2010s. I will just throw out there that if some referees weren't doing some nefarious things, maybe he is a champion this decade.
Potentially.
But an MVP and a multi-time first All-NBA player, Dirk Nowitzki, and as I mentioned, number 1 in win shares for the decade, is my number 1 pick. He was 3rd in points scored with over almost 19,000, 18,699 to be exact. He was 6th in total rebounds, a true shooting for the decade of 58%. So Dirk will be my first pick of this draft.
Defensible.
I think so. Now, here's the thing about making it work in this decade that's interesting. So Dirk's obviously going to play the 4, right?
Although, hold on.
But could I make him the 3 in this decade?
Well, no, you can't make him the 3, but I do at least want it to be noted for the record. There was one year, and I'm going to pull up the year, where he made. It's like I saw this earlier today and I was like, that can't be real, but it's real. He made the All NBA team as a center in 2001 to 2002, which I think that was more voting chicanery than anything else. But I just wanted to note that.
Jeez, you made the second team All NBA. That is voting chicanery.
Yeah.
And then Ben Wallace is a forward in the second team. On the third team.
Again, like we said,
Crazy.
we're going to keep going back to madness. Just madness.
Geez, this decade. Okay. So with my second pick, because I get back-to-back picks, it's probably too early to, it's too early to do him. So fifth in win shares this decade. And because we're going 2000
advanced,
I felt very unprepared when I went back and listened to last decade. So I'm trying to not just be playoff success is the only thing that matters. I'm trying to be like honoring the exercise. Now Dirk's going to play my 4. Realizing where we're starting from. So January 1st, 2000, that means I get all 3 Lakers titles in the beginning of the decade. And there's a 4-time champion from this decade that had one of the more dominant seasons and playoff runs and won.
Robert Horry. It's not too early for Robert Horry.
It's not? Okay, good. No. The Big Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal, was 5th in win shares this decade. And if you look overall in the decade, it's a more productive than people realize. I think people, look at when he went to post Miami time and it's like, oh yeah, he went to Phoenix and tailed off. No, made another All NBA team. It was 3rd All NBA after that.
After not making it at all
in 2 years. There's
seasons.
2 straight years, but you add in I'm putting the peak of what he accomplished.
So Kobe and Duncan, 7 first team All NBAs each in this decade. Shaq is next with 6, and there's a drop off. I won't say any other names, but there's a drop off after that. Like Shaq was the best player of the first half of the decade, and I'm not sure it's close. But it's the first half of the decade.
But I also think how high of a high, like how distant he was from number 2 in the decade, in the first half of this decade. There's only been one other more unstoppable thing that I've ever seen than 2000, 2001, 2002 Shaquille O'Neal. And it's Steph Curry for 2 years during the regular season in the mid 2010s. Okay. Now that's me. Like Michael Jordan, I saw the very end where he was dragging these Bulls teams and the league was very
Shaq was different.
Obviously it's
my
different,
2 cents,
but dominance
I've been watching the sport for 30 years, almost 30 years. I've never seen anything like Shaq.
I think it's also ridiculous that there's this idea where it's like, if Shaq played today, he'd be like Rudy Gobert. No, if Shaq played today, ridiculous. The entire NBA would demolish it.
Nobody would know what the fuck to do with him.
No, how are you going to play small against Shaq?
No,
you're not.
Especially when people say he's the evolved. So I gotta say this also. He's the evolved version of Giannis. Like Giannis, yes, makes free throws, but like Giannis also just learned this year, when I get inside the paint, no one can stop me from scoring. Well, Shaq figured that out midway through the 2000 season and then was putting up 40 and 20 playoff games for the next 3 years.
All due respect to Giannis is fucking awesome. And it's really tough to stop Giannis. Shaq was a different breed. And I still remember when watching the 2004 finals and the Pistons wiped the floor with the Lakers. In fairness, the Lakers won 1 game, where the Lakers got to a point where they're like, holy shit, nothing we're trying is working. And every possession down the floor during those games, they're fronting Shaq and they have someone behind Shaq. We don't care. We can't do anything else. We're just like going to every possession's like, can we pinpoint the pass into Shaq to get it? Like, all due respect to Ben Wallace was stopping Shaq. Like, they were just trying to not let Shaq get the ball. It was like Shaq was Shaq. One of one. That's all.
I agree. So those are my 2 picks, Dirk and Shaquille O'Neal.
Good picks. Jeremy, I think there's an obvious choice here for you.
I do too.
I hope it's the obvious choice you're thinking of. I recognize that considering how you have both taken big men, 4s especially, I could pass on this player, but
you can.
I think no. I have to go best player available, and that has to be Kevin Garnett in my mind.
Bingo.
Yeah. I mean,
easy choice.
Just 100%. Like, just ridiculously good. I mean, just for reference, won a championship 2008.
Yep.
MVP in 2004. made the All-Star team every single year of the 2000s. Was the MVP of the 2003 season. Was also basically the reason why the Timberwolves made the playoffs, and then the reason why the Timberwolves did not make the playoffs, except for one time with Tom Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler, and Karl Anthony Towns. 4-time All-NBA first team, 3-time All-NBA second team, and in the 2000s, one-time third.
I had it as two, so we should clarify. I was looking at
Depoy. He was a Depoy player. Depoy Award winner.
Depoy. I hate that acronym.
Whatever. 9-time NBA All Defensive first team. 8 of those happened in the span. 2-time All Defensive second team in the span. 4-time NBA rebounding champion. I couldn't let you get Kevin Garnett because you would have found a way to make it work. And even if you didn't, I still would be passing on probably one of the 5 greatest players. And coincidentally, he's being picked 5th.
It's the right choice. It's the obvious choice. It's the easy choice. You're right.
Second overall in win shares for the decade, by the way.
Yes,
you're right. Only 1/13.
And best actor of the 5 players that we have listed.
Yeah.
I do not count Kazam.
Yeah.
It's
as that. I don't care how many music videos that Kobe might have been in or commercials. Doesn't matter. Uncut Gems, Kevin Garnett performance, that takes the cake.
Yes. Dirk was in like Mike, where he asks
for an autograph.
He asked for an autograph, and Calvin's like, "Who do I make it out to? My sister. What's her name? Dirk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, but Kevin Garnett was in a ridiculously good movie.
I rewatched.
Like Mike's great too. Don't get me wrong.
No, Uncut Gems. I rewatched the beginning of Uncut Gems a couple weeks ago. It's really
why would you show it to me if I can't have it? All right, last analytic nerd thing for this pick. We through 5 picks have drafted the top 5 in win shares. So true to form, the best 5 players of the decade by that metric are all taken off the board.
So now's where it gets fun.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 names. I'm gonna bypass 2 of them because I have to. Okay, so I can only make 2 picks. And the people who I bypass, people are gonna yell and scream, and they're gonna be like, "You're an idiot."
Well, you have 2 picks back to back. So.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna pass on 2 because they're again 4 names. I'm going to pass on 2 picks. I have very little conviction with what I'm about to do. With the slight exception of the first guy, I have some conviction on this. And so with the first pick, and I started my team with Duncan. I guess he's going to be my small forward, and that's Trace McGrady.
I thought you'd go this way. Okay.
Yep. We've witnessed Kevin Garnett for the last however many years. Closest thing Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant. For the last decade and change. Closest thing to Kevin Durant that I ever saw was McGrady. And if you want to tell me McGrady at his peak was better than Durant at his peak, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. The issue obviously is that McGrady, when it went away, it went away. His last All-NBA appearance was in 2007-2008 season. He was obviously traded to the Knicks in the midst of the 2009-10 season. He was not the same T-Mac. Let's put it generously. But he's still my pick because for about a 5 or 6 year stretch there, putting aside the accolades and whatever else, nobody could score with that dude. So that's 1 pick.
8th in points scored. That's all I'll say. To add just to piggyback onto that, part of the reason I might have surprised you guys with my pick is because I was hoping I could eventually get back T-Mac around the spot where we were in the late second, early third. Because there is a 13, 14-year-old Andrew Claudio that was having Kobe T-Mac debates, and then the playoffs would happen and I would lose every time. So,
yeah.
That's the thing. The regular season accomplishments, I think they're the same player. Is when you get to the playoffs, one played with Shaq, one played with another center that is available. So great shoes, by the way. Those T-Macs early on were really good. My entire basketball team had those shoes.
Speaking of shoes,
I
have to do it.
It's Stephon Marbury.
The store, we're going to, what was that store? Stephen Barry's. We had like $11 sneakers. Yeah.
Oh, well, I remember picking up a pair of Starburys at the Manhattan Mall.
Whoa, how much did you pay? Like $11 for them?
I think I paid like $15.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, hey, Mom, can I get basketball shoes? How much? $15.
Yeah,
sure. I don't know how much I'm going to pay for my son's medical bills, but that's still a pretty good deal for shoes. Sure.
Yeah.
They're great.
My whole thing
they weren't, but they're great.
We don't have to do a whole tribe about Starburys, but once I found out the price, a full collection, like, whoa, in my price range. And then realized I was the only one wearing Starburys. Anyway, John.
I never had a pair.
So speaking of shoes.
I remember when this guy came out with his shoes and there was some fanfare about it.